I'd like to welcome to the show director of the upcoming film Dear Santa, Danny Nachman. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Before we dive into the film, what was the first movie you remember seeing?
Oh gosh. I remember where I saw it. There's this amazing theater that had like a grand theater where I grew up in New York.
For sure.
And it was one of the Disney movies. I don't know if it was Snow White or one of those, but I remember going with my mom and sitting in the balcony and it was amazing.
Absolutely. What made you want to get into filmmaking?
So I was a journalist, a television producer, where I did special projects. So I got to do basically the coolest, most in-depth stories that they had at my TV station, which was an NBC station in San Francisco. And I got assigned a documentary about 9/11. And it was
Wow.
an hour long, no commercials, so 60 minutes of content. And once I did that, I realized how much more fun it was to do a 60-minute story rather than a 90-second story.
Right.
And I love that. And so then I got assigned a few more. I did one on medical marijuana, I did one on Japanese internment, and then I had done a series for the TV station about wrongful conviction. And when this guy who we focused on got out of prison, he and I became friends and we talked about, he said, I was just one of many people that this happened to, this wrongful conviction. And so that became our first independent documentary. And
Awesome.
then, I started slowly identifying more as a filmmaker and less as a journalist. And now this is my sixth feature. Eventually I had to give up my job at the TV station.
For
For a
sure.
while I did both. And then I realized something had to give. And now I'm a filmmaker.
Absolutely. So, Dear Santa shines a light on the 100-year-old Operation Santa program of the United States Postal Service. Each year, hundreds of thousands of letters are sent to Santa to arrive at the post offices around the country. What attracted you to this project?
So I love stories that I know nothing about, and then I learn about them, and I'm like, wait, how did I not know this existed? And this was one of them. So my mom had happened upon a book that they sold at the post office
Oh, wow.
about 8 years ago. It was celebrating the 100 years of this program that actually tracks the hundreds of thousands of letters that come into Santa and then deals with them. So every year I would read this around Christmas time to my kids, and I would think, oh my God, this would be an amazing film. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't reach out to the United States Postal Service. They're very busy right now. But then finally in 2018, I said, okay, I have to just reach out to them. I can't just want to do this forever. So I reached out to them and they got back to me right away and they said, yeah, we agree with you. We think this would be a great film. So we talked for several months about what that would look like. And then finally they gave me complete access to shoot this past year.
That's fantastic because I agree with you. Like, I had watching this, I'm like, I had no clue that this was even a thing. Like, I
Oh,
really
either.
genuinely didn't.
Yeah.
And then as you watch it progress and you see these people go from like, yeah, when I first started here, I was like two or three. And then it's like, now I've got my whole entire company involved. Like, we're presenting presence all across that. What was it like trying to shoot these things and be like, shooting it from a documentary standpoint, but also trying to enhance it as a feature at the same time?
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, because like I said, I've done six, this is my sixth documentary, but in the meanwhile, I've dabbled in, I started doing shorts, like romantic comedy shorts. And so
I
I've started
love that.
dabbling in fiction. And so I've really taken a liking to the freedom that fiction filmmaking affords. So I was like, ooh, this is a fun opportunity to do a little of both. And considering that the entire Christmas season is a wink and a nod, we're all doing it all the time. It was pretty easy actually, just to engage people in another world, kind of, into the Santa world. So it was a great time, and it wasn't hard really. We were into it.
Yeah, because what you love the most about it is that raw emotion that you get from these kids. You know what I mean? I mean, it brought me to tears. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'll be honest about it, but it does because you have these people. I mean, from the bunny to the puppy, like it was so sweet because it's like these kids don't know. Kids don't know, right? You know what I'm saying? They don't understand the concept of gift giving and stuff like that at that young age. So it's like, I want a bunny, and it's like, well, that's like the easiest thing in the world, right? You know what I mean? But as you see these people unfold and watch this, it's so heartwarming and beautiful to watch, right?
Oh my God. It was like, I mean, yeah, I mean, and each kid's a little different. You know, some
For
kids are like
sure.
exuberant when they get their thing. We had the bunny kid, he was like in full on shock, I think, you
Yeah,
know?
he was.
And so it was just so amazing. I mean, I think whenever you can be, as an adult, whenever you can be reminded about this magic of childhood, it just brings you back, and I think it helps us. You know, it's cathartic to be in that space for a
For
while.
sure.
So I think this film puts you in that space for a while. And for me, I mean, I had the grand benefit of being in that space for this entire year. I mean, I got to, you know, I mean, imagine in
That's
the worst
awesome.
year of all time,
Yep,
like there were many days for 10 hours a day, I could just be immersed in this world. And so I'm really excited.
absolutely.
I mean, I'm just going to watch it over and over until the end of the year.
I don't blame you at all. I want to sit down with my kids and watch it as well.
Mhm.
So it kind of piggybacks from my next questions. I do sometimes, we as a collective whole, including myself, take for granted the idea of Santa Claus, right? We take for granted, when are we going to tell our kids? When are we not going to tell our kids? How should we tell our kids? You have that conversation a lot because the idea of Christmas and the idea of Santa Claus are really two totally different things. But Santa Claus, like, I realized watching this, I was like, oh my God, like I've, as a parent, have taken this for granted. Did you see that to be the case whenever you were filming it?
I think that Santa, yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. So I'm Jewish and I don't even celebrate Christmas. And so I think what's interesting about to me, but I love Christmas, obviously, or I wouldn't spend my time making this movie. So I think Christmas to me and Santa to me is is just a spirit of giving, a spirit of community, a spirit of like of warmth. I mean, I love the poster that they made for our film because I
So it's
think
so
it,
amazing.
yeah, it exudes warmth. And
Yep.
I think that in this world now, and you know, even without 2020 being the cluster that it was, I think, you know, we need this warmth. And I think the reason we got to such a bad place as a society is because we don't feel that anymore. We feel cold and we feel like our hearts are kind of like have to be very hard. And so I think Santa to me is that warm feeling, that community feeling. And I'm really hopeful that this movie, I mean, I don't want to have delusions of grandeur, but I think that I'm hoping that this movie can bring that back out in people. And you know, all the things we love about Christmas, we can just take that as a nugget and then put forth it in a bigger way. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, me as well. It kind of reminds you of the pizzazz, the idea of how grand Christmas is. You know what I mean? I get excited. You know, I want to put the tree up the day after Halloween. You know, I no offense to Thanksgiving, but I'm ready. You know what I mean? I'm
No,
all in. You know what I
I
mean?
am the exact same way. Like I am like so near my house they play Christmas carols starting Thanksgiving, and I think they used to do it right after Halloween and got some blowback. And I'm like, no, bring it back. I want them to do
Exactly.
that the whole time. I like when like the Starbucks drinks come out with the eggnog.
Yes.
I want the whole thing, and I want it to last as long as possible.
Exactly. And then whenever it's like I feel like it comes and goes so fast that we don't appreciate it. And this kind of made me sit down and remember, like, soak up these days. You know what I mean? Especially with kids, if you have kids, like, soak up the time with them and the idea of the
100%.
holidays. Because when you get to, like, I mean, I remember being a teenager, you kind of just like, it's Christmas. You know, I mean, you're excited because you're going to get things, but it's like a birthday. It's like an extra birthday every year, kind of like, you know. So if you have younger ones, it's definitely something to take advantage of. One of my last questions for you: what do you want people to take away from the film?
I hope that it does a little repair work on our society for this
For
year. You
sure,
know, I think
absolutely.
that we spent so much time this year and still are spending time really divided. And I
Yep,
think this is something, no matter what you believe, you
yep,
know, how you feel, where you get your news, all that stuff, I think we can all rally around this. And I think if we do, it'll just repair the world a little bit.
yep.
So I really hope that. And I hope people just have a good warm feeling while watching it. So at the very least that, and at the very most they become elves themselves and help one another. But I think
Absolutely.
it could just, even if it just does a little good with everybody who watches it, I'll be happy.
I agree 100%. I got a couple of crazy questions for you before we get, not crazy, but one thing that you've learned throughout this quarantine.
Gosh, I mean, I guess I've learned, like, I'm a pretty extroverted person. Um, but I think I need less interaction than I thought I did, I did really. I've really enjoyed the time I have. Three kids that are 10, 13, and 15. And the fact that we've been able to be together so much, I mean, 13 and 15 is the time usually when you don't, you see your kids less and less.
Yeah, for
And so
sure.
I think to have this opportunity to be with them nonstop, I mean, I mean, it sounds stupid. Of course, I should have known this ahead of time, but that it was a gift that I had, and I don't need much more than that. So I'm really psyched to be reminded that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for this heartwarming film.
Thank you so much, and I love La La Land. I love that poster
Me
behind
too.
me.
Oh my God, it's one of my all-time favorite films.
I mean, you can just watch it every day.
I probably could if I really wanted to. I love Damien Chazelle as well. So yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you so much.